Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Dealer webinar series. Today's webinar is sponsored by Online Drive and is titled Using Incentives to Motivate Test Drives, a Fad or a Revolution. Today's webinar presenter is Timmy James, Sales Strategist with Online Drive. Please welcome Timmy James.
Thank you very much, Seren, and thank you everybody who is joining in, taking time out of your day to join us here. I appreciate it. And hopefully you're going to leave with some insightful information. I thought I put together this seminar because I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine not long ago, and we were talking about the good old days, which really, in the big picture of things, isn't that long ago. I used to feel like I was the only one running around in the good old days talking about how to better merchandise your inventory. And man, back in those days, everybody did a terrible job merchandising your inventory. And I would go to these seminars, and I'd get up on my soapbox, and I'd preach about how to better merchandise. And if you just do a better job merchandising your inventory, you're going to get a competitive advantage. You're going to get more trust from the shopper. Shopper's going to like you better. They're going to want to come back to your website as they continue through the search and through the buying cycle, because they liked your representation and what how you're presenting your inventory, the information that you're putting out. And years and years, I felt like I was the only one running around talking about it, and then all of a sudden, boom! Dealers started doing it. The leads started going up. Sales started going up, and now more and more dealerships across the board do a significantly better job merchandising their inventory than they did back in those days. Some of y'all out there probably do an amazingly fantastic job with the representation of your vehicles on the internet, the data, just the overall information and quality of the data on your website today. And even the ones who don't do that good of a job these days would have been the superstars back not long ago. So that's the good news. The bad news is, in a lot of ways, that's changed the shopper and helped create the scenario that we live in today. So much has changed with the shopper that they do trust your information and trust the data that you have on your website. They do view you and your individual website as a trusted source of information, so that as they're going through their search, they don't feel the need to run down to the store anymore to get information. They can get everything they need from your website now. You've got transparency in pricing, significantly at a higher level than you did before. All the tools they need to have information about the value of their vehicle, and we've created an environment where the shopper doesn't need to come down to our store until they're at the very end of the buying cycle. But we still got to figure out a way how we can regain that competitive advantage, how we can get those shoppers to give us the lead and make certain that we regain our competitive advantage. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, here's what most of you on the call are probably on the call because of this scenario here. We get X number of people coming to our website every month. Of those, we got a certain number that are unique visitors, certain number that are returning visitors, and we know there's got to be more leads in there than what we're getting. We've changed website providers X number of times over the last couple of years. Sometimes when we change providers, we get more visitors, we get better SEO, and more people showing up to our website. And sometimes, whether the conversion rate actually goes up or not, that ultimately means, because we're getting more people in the front end of the cycle, we end up getting a few more leads and a few more sales out of it. Sometimes when we get more people coming to the website on the front end, we get a smaller conversion. We can't figure out, what's going on here. We know we're doing a better job merchandising, and we've added this lead app and that lead app, or this button that's supposed to get more engagement, or that button that's supposed to get more engagement. But at the end of the day, we're still only converting at a pretty small percentage. And of the leads that are converting, how do we get those guys to actually show up? How come so many people will give information and then never show up at the store? We made changes to our BDC department, our what we say, our overall process. Maybe even gone through an internet manager or two over the last couple of years because the guy before you couldn't get it figured out. So that's why we're here. And that's what I want to help each of us understand is exactly what's going on your website, why you're struggling to convert the 5% that you're at. If you're doing an exceptional job, maybe up at 7-8%, why can't we bust the 10% conversion rate and get over into 14, 15, 20% conversion? And the answer is really very simple, and it's because your website is actually doing what it's set up to do right now. It's converting the shoppers. It's giving a message and giving a call to action and offering an offer and an incentive to the people that it is exactly set up to do that for. So we're going to talk about who those people are, why it's converting at what it is, and how can we reach a little further into the cycle and give a different call to action, a better call to action to some other lower funnel shoppers and get them into the store. And this is what it's all about. Your call to action is going to do two things. It's going to ask, it's going to make sure that the shopper understands what it is that you want them to do, and then give them a reason to do it. Without you making it clear what you want them to do and giving them a reason to do it, they're not going to do it. So that's the thing we have to keep in mind on. So as we look at our websites today, I just pulled a couple of sites, and these probably are representative of some of the things you got going on. You've got the value of your trades and the click to get approved. You've got your was-is pricing over here, and some buttons, some things on here to click and chat with us about this Silverado, and you've got your reg tag things going on these days, or maybe you've got an e-price button, and click here and we'll give you a special price so that the shopper thinks that they're going to get a discount if they give you their information. All these different types of call to action, that's all price-based offer and a price-based incentive. So in order to engage you and fill out any of these forms, even if it's just to get a value for their current vehicle, you're asking them to be prepared. You're talking to the people who have to be prepared to make a $25,000, $35,000, $55,000 decision. So it's all based off of, if you buy this vehicle, I'll do something with the price. If you buy this vehicle, I'll give you information. If you're interested in talking to us, and if you'll give us your information, we'll give you information about what your car's worth so we can talk to you about buying another one of our cars. Everything is a price-based, buy my vehicle, I'll do something with the price and offer and incentive. So it's working how it should on the customers that it should be working on. So let's talk about who they are. You're all familiar with the sales cycle, and there's different versions of it, but they all break down to something along these lines. You've got the point where they reach their initial interest, and then they begin their research. After they've done some research, they move into the experience stage, and this is where they take a test drive, and then from the experience stage, they purchase. Beside this, though, you've noticed I've labeled them, each category something different. This is the marketing status. You've got, after they've made the purchase, and move down here into the advocacy stage. And from the marketing perspective, that's called your future potential. And while they're in the research stage, initial interest, research, and experience, they're called potential prospects. And once they do move up into the purchase phase, they're called the now buyer. So some things we know about this cycle is it's changed. It's not as long as it's longer than it used to be. People don't buy cars as often as they used to. They're holding on to their current vehicles longer. When they finally do get ready to purchase a new one, it usually happens pretty fast today compared to how it used to happen in the olden days, if you will. We know that the visitors today are visiting more websites in a shorter amount of time. That's very important for us to remember. We also know that our margins have gotten tighter with all the visibility that there is in the pricing out there, not just within from dealer to dealer, you guys knowing what your competitors are pricing at, but now the consumers have visibility into your pricing. So you don't have as much to give away to try to buy their visit like you did in the old days. And really the major number one most important thing in this whole equation is that today the average shopper is visiting less than 2 dealerships prior to making a purchase. Now, I don't know. I've heard that it's 1.6. I've heard it's 1.2, and I've heard it's 1 point something, everything in between. And I don't care which one of those it is. The bottom line is it's less than 2. And if it's less than 2, that means you better not be second. It's that simple. If you're second, you don't get to be second often. So you have to figure out what can we do to make certain that through this process we're the first ones they visit. So I've just changed the way the categories are laid out, but you'll notice they're all the same category: the now buyer, the potential prospect, and your future potential. The same things we just said about those over here listed to the right, but I put it into a little different perspective to help understand how each of those facts relates to each of these categories. So this is where our money's at, right here. This cycle, as you look at it, you have to make a decision on exactly who it is that you should be targeting with your call to actions. And as I look at it, it's a pretty simple equation. I definitely want to continue to target my now buyers, don't get me wrong, but I really want to make certain that these are the people right here that I'm targeting, because once they're already a now buyer, this means they're already on my lot. This means they're ready to make a purchase. They figured out the exact vehicle they want from the exact dealer that they want to buy it from, and they're ready to make a purchase. So I really want to try to figure out how to get all of the rest of these folks into my store as quickly as possible. Now, right now, your price-based incentives are focused on these folks. You're getting your 2 to 3%. You're reaching into the potential prospect and pulling some potential prospects into the now buyer category at another 2 to 3%. 4% maybe, and that's why you're converting at 5%. By definition, your marketing is designed to do exactly that. Your call to action is designed to do exactly that, to reach up into the buying cycle and turn potential prospects into now buyers. That's the goal of everything, every ad you run on TV, every billboard you have out there on the highway, every radio commercial, every newspaper ad, and everything you do online is to turn potential prospects into now buyers. Figure out how to get somebody into your lot. For the website, it's for the internet, it's how do I get them off the internet and into my lot as quickly as possible. So now let's look at it from the shopper's perspective. From the shopper's perspective, they're out there looking at all kinds of different dealerships. When they start their initial interest phase, a lot of that is run. A lot of what happens next is driven from your offline advertising. Which dealerships am I going to go visit? Will I? And you're hoping that you get a yes, that they'll come visit your dealership. I call this the yes pyramid. It's a series of yeses that you have to walk a shopper through in order to get the macro yes, which is will you buy a car from me? And if you get a no anywhere along the line, they're probably gone. You may not get a second chance. So will you visit my website? Once you visit your website, you got to understand, this isn't a one-time deal. They're not just going to visit your website one time and boom, they're in your store. They're going to abandon their search at some point. They're going to go away back to their life. They're going to go back to watching TV or go back to playing on Facebook or go back to work or whatever it is they're they're looking at your website from. And then maybe a day, 2 days, a week later, they're going to start their search again. Are they going to come back to you? Did you stand out enough on their initial visit to your website that you're first in mind when they get ready to come back and do another search? What made you different when they were on your website that made them think to themselves, man, when I get ready to come back and look, do some more research, I'm definitely coming back here. And they come back, as they do come back to your site, will they start drilling down into your inventory? How far will they drill down into your website? Ultimately, will you engage me? Will you give me your information? After you've given me your information, will you come visit me at my store and test drive a vehicle? And finally, will you buy the car? Now, the crazy thing is, while they're on your yes pyramid, you've got all these other dealerships out there. They're on their pyramid too, especially in the beginning of the process. They're not just on your pyramid. They're over here on all these other pyramids. They're looking at vehicles from several different websites, and somebody's going to get a no. Ultimately, as you continue to go up through here, less than 2 dealerships are going to get these last 2 yeses, and only one's going to get the final yes. So what's going to make this shopper earlier in the process say yes to you? And more importantly, move them from here to here and make certain that they don't end up dropping off and giving these final yeses to somebody else. This is what it's all about. And this is where giving the right incentive to the right person at the right time is going to make a huge impact on your business. So you must remember, in all things you're doing, incentivize the behavior that you desire the most. The desire you most, what you desire the most from all of your online marketing is get off the internet and get onto my lot. They're going to visit less than 2 dealerships today. Get off the internet. Make sure I'm the first one you come visit. That's what you want me to do. That's the first part of the call to action. And the second big important reason is, why should I do that? That's great. That's what you want me to do. I hear you. Why should I do it? And this is where most of us miss the boat. So it's not that difficult. Give them the message. If you're thinking about taking a test drive, thinking about driving this car or that car, come drive one of ours. Come take a no obligation test drive. I'm going to give you something of value for your time. If they're looking at their appraising a vehicle, if they're on your appraisal pages of your website, tell you what, come on down to our store. Let us give you a professional appraisal, and I'll give you X number of dollars. I'll give you something of value just to come down here and let us take a look at your car. You give a different call to action, a different offer with a different incentive, you're going to get a different result. You keep giving the same offer with the same price-based incentive, you're going to keep getting the same result. So incentivize the behavior that you want, and more. And then the next thing is, I'm going to say the word, make sure it's relevant. I know that's a word that y'all hear all the time now, and you're going to continue to hear it because technology is doing a wonderful thing. Technology is letting us make our offers and our incentives more relevant so they get more engagement. More engagement means more people are going to give you their information. More people give you their information, more likely it is they're going to show up at your store. So here's one thing you got to understand. People who are further away from you, here's your store, people who are further away are going to require a larger incentive. It's that simple. Especially if there's a competitor close by. You're going to ask somebody to drive all the way down this highway, past a competitor, past 2 competitors, past 3 competitors, and come visit you to test drive this car. You're asking a lot. you have to give them enough value to overcome the counter incentive. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail later, but there's a negative to each individual person that's on your website. They're all different, and they all have different reasons for being on your website, but they also have different reasons for not wanting to engage you, for not coming to visit you. So we have to offset that for each one individually. So you have to, absolutely have to, increase the incentive based upon a lot of various factors. Distance is just one of them. Location to your competitor is just one of them. There are some other ones. So I can assure you, these guys, to get the traffic, the engagement that they're getting from all these other people all these miles away from them, are having to offer a significantly larger incentive to those people than the people that are in their backyard. So again, besides the geolocation, the shoppers are different in a lot of other ways. They're different in where they're at in the buying cycle. Maybe they put in different keywords into Google to land up on your website. They use different referring URLs. When they get to your website, they have different on-site behaviors. They're looking at different types of vehicles. They're looking at different pages on your website. Maybe they're where they're really really focused on is a referring or an appraisal or something like that. So all of those things are extremely important. And the great thing about technology is technology helps us understand a lot of this information. The technology does exist out there today that will help you make certain that the offer that you're giving someone and the value of the incentive that you're showing them is relevant to them, where they're at, what they're doing on your website. By doing that, by making your offer more relevant, you're going to get more engagement. By having a higher value, you're going to get more engagement. You're going to get more people to give you the lead, to give you their information. Now, just because they've given you information doesn't mean they're coming into your store yet. But you got to start by thinking to yourself, okay, if store A, B, and C is only offering a price-based incentive, and store D is competitive in that price-based incentive, but is offering me something else of value to come visit them, who am I going to be more likely to visit? And it's an easy answer. Maybe store D. And I say maybe because, you know what, if I'm over here and I'm only seeing a $25, a $50 value in what you're offering me, that may not be enough. It's a long drive. It's a time-consuming process. May not be enough. I may just, you know what, that's cool. I appreciate it. And I did. It looked interesting at the time I filled out the form, but you know, I am pushed for time, and I am moving higher in the cycle. I am about to give somebody a yes and come in and take a test drive. These guys are right next door. You are very competitive on your price, the price-based offer. I think I'm just going to stay here. So sometimes the amount of value that you have to offer them to get them to give you the lead and the amount of value that you ultimately have to offer them to get them to finally come into the store are two different things. You have to figure out what those things are. So first and foremost, we do understand that we're going to get more leads if we give the shopper to give us the leads. More of them are going to show up if we make certain that the value that we're offering them to show up offsets all the negative reasons on why they won't. And we do that by making certain that we are getting on the phone, following these simple rules, and getting on the phone and confirming, having a conversation. Once somebody does give you the lead, make certain that you confirm it with the phone call and with an email, and make certain, this is where it starts getting extremely important. Let me go back to that slide. And then make certain that they understand they're not going to have to jump through hoops to get their incentive, that they're not going to have to they're not going to get beat up, because they still have, now there's another counter incentive, and the other counter incentive is now fear that when I get down there, I'm not ready, still not maybe ready to make that buying decision while I'm sitting here at home. You know, if you can just get them to the lot, get them behind the wheel of a car, let the emotions take over, let your sales team do what they do best, is sell them the car. They're going to be more likely to buy it. But when they're sitting at home getting ready to make that decision, they're going, you know what, if I go down there, I do drive all the way down there, they're just going to beat me up about buying it. So you have to get on the phone, you have to confirm that whatever the incentive that you've offered them is, and make certain they understand that this is no obligation, you're not going to get beat up, and you're going to leave with that incentive in your hand. By making certain they understand that they're going to leave with that incentive in their hand, you're going to get a significantly larger number of them actually showing up at the store. So, and then that's the next thing, is when they do show up at the store, you got to fulfill your promise. You've got to, whatever it is you told them it's going to happen, you got to make sure it happens. So, and here's the reason why. Every single shopper, we already know this, I'm not telling you anything new. Every shopper thinks that your salesman is the bad guy. Consumers don't like car salesmen. They think that they're cheesy. They think they're going to try to beat them up. They think they're going to try to cheat them. So when they show up at the store and you fulfill your promise and you give them their incentive immediately, you start breaking down the trust barrier. Your salesmen are trained when the shopper shows up on the lot to sell the dealership, sell themselves, sell the car. The reason they're trained to do that is to break down the trust barrier, try to build common ground, talk to the shopper about, build a relationship, talk to them about friends, family, occupation, recreation, get to know them, bring down that trust barrier and help turn yourself into the good guy. Well, you can take huge steps in that process by making certain they understand before they come down that they're going to get their incentive as soon as they show up, and then as soon as they show up, give them their incentive. You fulfilled your promise, you break down the trust barrier, your salesperson is now the good guy, and it's going to facilitate a significantly higher trust relationship, which means they're going to get a higher close rate. So the alternative is you're trying to trick the shopper. I mean, here's the bottom line. You're either trying to deceive the shopper or you're not trying to deceive the shopper. It's that simple. I bring this up because I've talked to people who put offers on their website, but then when the shopper finally shows up at the store, then they don't give it to them. And they just don't bring it up that they're not going to get it. They go ahead and have the shopper take the test drive and go through the process, hope they buy the car, and hope that sometime during that process they never bring up whether they're going to get their incentive or not. And then hopefully they've already made the decision to either buy or not, a decision not to buy by the time they say, okay, now where's my incentive? Well, to me, that's a deceitful business practice. Don't be that guy. Have a process in place where whatever the incentive is that you're giving out, you're able to deliver it at the time the shopper's there, and then use that as a tool to get more shoppers to visit you. Help break down that fear about getting beat up, break down the fear about, am I going to have to jump through hoops? Listen, we get mailers all the time from Ford and from Volkswagen and from Kia, and you bring this form in, we're going to give you $50, and then there's a big disclaimer on the bottom talking about the process and how you're going to have to mail it in. You'll get your $50 check in 4 to 6 weeks. So they've got that in their head already. Am I going to have to do that? Is that what's going on here? Is that what's going to happen? So you have to make certain that you've that you answer those questions ahead of time. You will get more people showing up at the lot. First and foremost, then make certain that you deliver. Make certain that you're not in this category, and it will have a significant increase on the overall sale. And that's why we recommend electronic gift cards. You can offer a large variety of vendors to keep it relevant. You can go down and buy gift cards from your local restaurants, and that's cool. But the problem when you're buying gift cards from your local restaurant, or you're buying individual gift cards from this place or from that place, you better hope that the people that are on your website like that store, like that brand. Because if people are visiting your website and they don't like that place or don't like that brand, it's not relevant to them now. They're going to be less likely to engage it. It doesn't matter what the value is. You have to, in fact, you have to increase the value dramatically to get the same result. So by being able to offer a large variety of brands, you're going to increase. It's going to be more relevant to more people. You're going to increase the engagement. We like the electronic cards because there's no inventory and they're easy to track. And you get to make certain that no matter what card it is that somebody wanted, you're able to deliver it when they show up on the lot. So those are some very important things for us, and why we recommend the electronic cards like we do. But you can there's a lot of other things you can do and variations of incentives that you can offer. But you need to make certain that doing it, you follow the rules. It's all about using incentives correctly. If you don't use incentives correctly, I've had a lot of people tell me, listen, I've tried cards before. I put an incentive on my website before, and I just had a bunch of people come in for the free gift. Well, listen, what we're talking about here is not new. Dealerships, not just dealerships, the world has been using incentives to motivate behavior for a long time. You're using incentives to motivate behavior right now. You're using the price-based incentives, and you're motivating behavior from the higher funnel people. To motivate the behavior of people who are lower funnel people, to motivate the behavior of people who are higher in the buying cycle, you've got to change the offer, you've got to change the incentive. The more relevant, the more likely it is that the person coming in is not just going to be a tire kicker. By using technology to make certain that you're getting the right incentives in front of the right people, you're going to lower the number of people who just come in and and kick the tires. Does that mean that you're not going to get people coming in to kick tires? No, it doesn't matter. You're always going to get people coming in and just kicking tires right now with your price-based incentives. Doesn't matter what you're offering, you're always going to have a certain number of people that are just coming in for the incentive. By using technology to help make the incentives more relevant, you're going to reduce the number of tire kickers, but more importantly, you're going to dramatically increase the number of real legitimate shoppers. That's the important factor. So you've got business sitting in your website right now. Right now, today, there are people who are going to leave your website and go to one of your competitors' websites and maybe another competitor's website, and they're going to end up ultimately giving somebody their information. What are you going to do to make certain that that's you? Same with visiting the lot. You've got people who are in your CRM right now. They've submitted a lead. They've probably submitted a lead to several other people. Here's the thing, when somebody is submitting a lead, that you've gotten a lead, more than likely another dealership out there has gotten a lead from this person too. You gotta understand that. If you're getting an Auto Trader lead, a Cars.com lead, any third-party lead, you better be certain one of your manufacturer leads that one of your competitors also got a lead from that same person. What's going to make you different? What's going to make you, especially even if they're in the now buyer category? That's the other question I hear from time to time. Well, what if, doesn't that mean that I'm just going to be giving an extra incentive to the people that are already now buyers too? Yep, you bet. But the people that are very near that now buyer category, who haven't made that transition yet, and who are in the process of making that decision in the immediate future, what's going to make them choose you? They've got to lead into you. They've got to lead into 2 or 3 other people right now at the same time. How can you make sure? There's one way, the way you're doing it now, call them up, offer them another $1,000 off the price of the car. So in a lot of ways, you're giving those guys an extra incentive already off the gross, and it's in the terms of thousands instead of hundreds. So there is incentives when used correctly, and you're focused on giving the right incentives to the right people at the right time, you're going to see the number of legitimate shoppers, people who you can legitimately convert into a now buyer, engaging you and coming into your dealership significantly earlier than they would have before, which means you're guaranteeing that you're not second. Here's what we often see. It's not unusual to see a 9 to 12% increase in conversion rate. It's not unusual to see a 50 to 80% show rate. The people who actually fill out the form and give you their information for an incentive that's not a price-based incentive, that doesn't require a decision to purchase, a no hassle, no obligation. You come down here, we're not going to beat you up, and you're going to leave with the incentive in your hand. You get about 50, 60, 70% of those guys showing up. And the best part of it, when they show up, they buy cars. They are, most of them. You're still going to get some that don't. A lot of times, what you'll see is people will come in, if they were really early in the process, they're still not ready to make the now buyer decision. They really wanted to test drive that car though. So they came in and they took the test drive with you. You gave them a great experience. You broke down the trust barrier. You gave them what you promised. A day, a week later, they've thought about it some more, and they get ready to move into that now buyer category. They come back to you because of the experience that you gave them. They already like you. They already trust you. So that's the presentation. I believe the presentation is being recorded so that it will be able to be viewed at a later time. I don't know how long it's going to take them to get it up on their website, but generally it's only about a week or so. I appreciate everybody coming and sitting in with me, and I think we do have a little bit extra time if somebody wants to, if there are any questions that anybody has. I'd be happy to answer as many of them as I can. Oh, I see a question here. Does Google Analytics convey visitation of pages? The answer is yeah. It does, but here's the biggest thing you got to understand. There's a lot of you got Google Analytics. You've got a couple other types of tracking codes you can put on your website to get the information, but having the information is just the first part of the battle. Once you have the information, now you got to do something with it. So you can use Google and your Google Analytics to get good, valuable information. There's a lot of other tracking codes also that you can use to get good, valuable visitor information. You can you have the ability to use that kind of code to have additional code that will dynamically in real time communicate different offers and different incentives to different shoppers while they're on your site. Any other questions? Will this work with email? It's a great question, and my apologies for not addressing that, because here's the thing. It absolutely will work with email, and email can be one of a great ways that you can use the non-priced based incentive to stand out and to be different and to get that competitive advantage. Again, like we talked about, if you're getting an email from the shopper, chances are 2 or 3 other dealerships are getting an email from them too. Everybody's going to shoot them an autoresponder. Hey, thanks for sending us your information. Somebody will be in touch with you soon. And then when is soon? First of all, now your BDC process comes into place. Everybody's got a race to try to get the person on the phone the fastest. But what if your response, instead of being like everybody else's, said, hey, we appreciate you sending us some information. We'd like to give you something of value if you'll just come down and visit with us. So you use even just using your autoresponders. Obviously, when you respond in person, you can get into more detail. We would even go so far as to use a microsite. It could use a microsite in your email response based upon the source of the email, so that when somebody engages the microsite based off the autoresponder, which nobody else is that they're receiving a response from has, it gives them a relevant offer with a relevant incentive based upon a lot of the variables we talked about. So that takes it even to a whole nother level, and you will get significantly more of those third-party leads, your manufacturer leads, and so on, engaging you and showing up at your store, especially when you get on the phone with them and confirm to them that it's a no obligation, you're not going to jump through hoops, you're going to receive your incentive while you're here on the lot. Significantly more of them are going to come visit you. What about, do incentives work with service appointments? Here's the thing about, there is so much business sitting in your service department right now today. So many people in that service department are in the buying cycle somewhere, and it's a very difficult conversation for your current sales team to have. It's an uncomfortable, so you don't want to walk over there and say, hey, where are you at in the buying cycle? You don't want to go over there and ask them probing questions and make them feel uncomfortable while they're waiting in service. You're going to risk that they're going to stop coming over to your service department. So what if you address that beforehand when they call in to schedule their appointment? What if when you confirm the appointment, you also simultaneously offer them an incentive while you're here? Why don't you go ahead and come on over to our showroom and test drive a vehicle, and we'll give you something of value. We'll give you a $25 gift card to Chili's. So absolutely you can, especially with your service reminders on your service page, when they're going through your service page to fill out a form, you should have an offer on your service page. Say, while you're here for service, come on over, we'll give you something of value to do it. So yeah, absolutely, it works extremely well with service, and you'd be amazed at how much business, how many additional deals you can pull out of your service department every single month. That's just sitting there waiting for you to make them some kind of an offer to come do it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Tim. The questions have stopped, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. And the webinar will be available later this afternoon on the website, the recorded version. So if you go to ddwebinars.com, it will be available later. And we hope to see you all at the next webinar. And thank you very much, Tim.
Awesome. Thank you all.